I watch the Inside Blockchain show on Crypto TV Plus. Every Monday morning, Crypto TV Plus brings you news headlines of top stories, interview with an expert, and give you detailed market analysis to enable you make the right business moves. Now you too can become a smart investor if you don't miss it. The Inside Blockchain show, only on Crypto TV Plus.
Can blockchain improve efficiency and transparency in aid distribution? This is a discussion we are going to be looking at on the program. Chairman Blockchain Association of Uganda gets nominated to the World Economic Forum Council on cryptocurrencies. On the international scene, Coinbase launches cryptocurrency Visa card in the US. Trump's campaign website got attacked 1 week from elections as attacker requested for Monero. And finally, on the market analysis segment of our program, Bitcoin price hits $14,000 exactly 12 years after white paper released.
Hello and welcome to the program. This is Inside Blockchain live on Crypto TV Plus. I am Tony Obiajuru. We are going to be starting today's program a little different from what you are used to, as we will be having a key discussion around recent happenings, as we've seen particularly with the palliatives incidents that took place in different parts of the country last month. As you all know, we've seen quite funny but disturbing videos of the different warehouses where these palliatives were stored, being looted and people losing their lives in the process of trying to get a few for themselves and their family members. This is really sad, and that's why we are rather starting with discussing how such can be prevented from happening again, leveraging the blockchain technology. Interesting, right? So the important question here is, can blockchain improve efficiency and transparency in aid distribution? Joining me on the program right now to discuss this is Ambassador Dr. Gilead Okolonkwo, who is the chairman of Beep Magnet International Group, as well as Charles Okafor-Umba, the co-founder and technical team lead of CHATS, and that is Convexity Humanitarian Aid Transfer Solutions. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on the program. How are you? Doctor, can you hear me? Thank you for joining me on the program. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm okay. And you? How are you doing? Hope you're doing well.
I'm awesome. Fantastic. Charles, what about you? Thank you for joining me on the program.
Yeah, good morning, Tony. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you for me.
Okay, so thank you. Awesome. Now let's go straight into it. Ambassador, let me begin with you quickly right there. We are discussing the possibility of blockchain technology improving efficiency and transparency in aid distribution. But let's start, right, by pointing out some of the issues. What problems currently plague the traditional aid system? Can you help me mention a few?
Well, a couple of these problems is obvious. The very first is accountability. We have seen that aid is all about charity. It's all about giving back to the people, especially individuals who are vulnerable. Now, there are two parties in this particular instance. One from the donor and then the recipient. So over the years, we have discovered that some donors who have actually provided aid have not been able to, see accountability. And based on that, we discover that when there are issues or when there are need for this aid, we don't have them, because those who have actually given out this form of support cannot be able to get accountability. Okay. Secondly, transparency is also another thing. The human factor most times always comes in. We now talk about culture, we now talk about region, we now talk about locality. So sometimes when this aid is provided, individual who are to interface with the beneficiary begins to bring in sentiments to it. They begin to say, okay, this will have to go to my own state, this will have to go to my own people, and that is also a big challenge. Secondly, we've seen the news, a lot of things actually go online. And then this news will actually, put up a couple of people and show them on social media that, yes, these are the beneficiaries. Now, the problem of confirmation of this testimony, confirmation of this particular beneficiary is a problem. We also have the problem of tracking these particular beneficiaries. And then the last but not the least is actually what trust. These are problems that is associated with donors or with relief aid, over the years. Thank you very much, Mr. John.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for highlighting some of those problems. Now, coming to you, Charles. Now, there are probably a lot, apart from the ones that Ambassador, just mentioned. But in what ways, specifically, can blockchain improve on these problems?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Now, we know that blockchain itself promotes accountability and transparency of system, especially the centralized system. Now, for the blockchain itself, just like Gilead has actually said, accountability between the donors and then the recipient. But in between, we have people that are actually doing this distribution. So what if we have a situation whereby the donors can, instead of using relying on a third party to do the distribution to the recipient, why not have a system or a solution that can easily be tracked by the donor to know what is going to who and if it has been delivered?
Yeah.
And that is where blockchain actually easily comes in, because with the blockchain you can see where my money is going to as a donor, and then who is actually getting this this relief package or this aid that I am giving. So it makes it more accountable, and then the transparency in the system too. And I must mention too that it's not just relying on the blockchain system alone, but also the use of some other factors that will actually help in bringing human interface to a very small or to a minute level. And that has to do with putting measures in place that will ensure that this distribution is actually going to those that are really in need of it. So for that transparency, that can actually be done with creating a decentralized ID on the blockchain too, that can easily be used to certify that these people that or whoever is getting this aid is actually who they say they are. So we need to also put in an identity system that those that are getting the aids are who they are meant to. It is going to who they are meant to, or they are the ones that are the target for it. And like we also know, it also helps distribution. It also helps the donors and the recipients to be accountable to what they get and what they are getting from the donors itself in terms of trust.
Oh, fantastic, Charles. Thank you for sharing that. But still on you, right? Now, we've seen a couple of very disturbing videos, like I mentioned earlier, about, palliatives, being looted. The first question you would want to ask is how is it that these aids or these palliatives in questions are in these warehouses and nobody is aware? Now, leveraging the blockchain, right? Does it create that possibility of a situation where stuffs like these are traceable, like easily traceable, from the point where these aids are made available to the point where they are taken from the person who is donating, all right, to the recipient or those who are at the receiving end? So does the blockchain create a system like this that allows everybody to monitor the progress from like the movement, from the fact that, okay, it has been made available, to the fact that, okay, it has been delivered to who is supposed to receive it?
Yes, that's very true. Now in applying the blockchain for such kind of a solution, you need to think about getting getting the aid, let's say, well, let's use token for example now. You
Okay.
want to tokenize an aid distribution from an international agent or from an international agency organization. Now, instead of giving this token or this fund directly to a vendor that will now stock up this, just like what we have currently with the present palliative for COVID. Now, instead of giving it directly to the vendors or to the people that will actually provide this aids, you can actually give this token now to the recipient, to those that actually need it. Now, this recipient that will provide this aid. So indirectly, you are holding you are holding the vendors accountable for what they have to distribute. So if they don't distribute that aid, they don't get the money. So what we are presently seeing is, as a result of the aids or the palliatives that are actually being distributed or given, being paid for directly. So since they have been paid for, now those that are meant to distribute it are the mercy of those that are meant to get it. But if we have a situation whereby there's transparency on the platform or there's transparency with the blockchain system, that you know that, okay, I've given my fund, I've given my money to this cause, and this fund is not going directly to the people that are going to share this aid, but rather it is going to the recipient. Then from the recipient, it gets to the vendor. Then we'll start seeing a little bit of more transparency when it comes to aid distribution and when it comes to giving a palliative to those that actually need this.
All right, thank you. Ambassador, coming to you. We are going to be watching a video shortly on quite funny but very disturbing. But coming to you, Ambassador. Now, we know that blockchain is an emerging game changer in diverse industries. You would agree with me on this. But do you see the blockchain working effectively in aid distribution? And when I mean working effectively, I mean we adopting it as a technology to provide its solutions in a sector or in a distribution chain?
Well, the answer is actually yes, because to an extent, when we look at the African space, we would, after a cross-examination of various technology, we have come to a conclusion that indeed blockchain technology is for Africa. Why? Because in Africa, there's this associated tendency of fraud. We are not transparent. Now we now have a technology that can actually provide this particular answer. The point is this: blockchain technology is the key. But one thing is certain, it is a new technology. And then, truth be told, it's not always easy to actually embrace something that is new, both in the capacity of the government and then even to the populace. And that is why, even close to after more than a decade, that we come to the realization of what this technology will do. Still yet, whenever we talk about blockchain technology, people only think about it from a currency perspective, and Bitcoin actually come into the minds of people. So the point is, yes, there is a gap. And part of the gap is also an opportunity. Why? Because in Africa, we do not have a lot of experts who have the technical capacity to actually manage this technology. And that's a big problem to many institutions and government. So it's not all about embracing the technology, but what about the technical competence to be able to handle it? So there is a gap, which is also another opportunity. That means there's a call for a lot of Africans to begin to look at this particular technology space and then begin to get technical competencies that can actually support it. Education too is also very important. Yes, we have been able to see a couple of organizations like Crypto TV Plus trying to sensitize and educate the people, but more is actually needed. Take, for example, in Nigeria, we are not seeing billboards that talk about this particular technology. We only hear that, oh, okay, Nigeria Custom apply blockchain technology. But how visible is this in the market? Something that comes to your mind is Coca-Cola. Why? Because institution, private organization are actually doing this particular advert. So we want to see more of this advert, like they can be able to register in the consciousness of the people. And when we think about it, we are looking at, blockchain technology, what should come to our mind should be, a system or a technology that is accountable, a system that is transparent, a system that is actually fraud-proof. Another aspect too is actually on the aspect of the youths. The youths are savvy.
They can't be left out in any question, right?
Can't be left out. But for you to attract and get the youths, the truth is we must incentivize the process. I also like the point that was mentioned by Mr. Charles, in terms of making this particular tokenization system, and he made mention of the identification system. Now, during the course of my research, I believe that we can actually perfect the identification system on a decentralized ledger. But in order for us to do that, we need to add a little bit of incentive. When we add incentive, then we can see the youth playing around, and we can see more individuals giving credible documentation. Let me give you an instance. Imagine a situation whereby we decided to embrace the identification system, making it on blockchain. And then we now introduce tokenization connected to identification system. Currently, the banks actually need verification. And that is why when you actually open a bank account, the bank will tell you they have to go and do verification before they can actually approve that. And they do a debit of your account because they want to do verification. But what about a situation whereby we now incentivize the system that when you update your information in decentralized ledger, you have a token. And that at any point in time that any institution decide that they want to verify you, you earn more token. Do you think that the youth will not provide the identification system? Of course. So this is what we need to do. Yes, for the youth to be able to do that if you want to know more about me, anytime you do a verification of my identity, I earn token. And the institution in question that is actually doing that particular subcharge is the one making that available. So it is a technology that has come to stay, but we need more players in the sense that beyond the trading, beyond the cryptocurrency, we need use cases that people can actually get connected with. And that is exactly what we are actually doing in Big Magnet International Group, because we decided that when people talk about the adoption of this, we have decided to focus on blockchain technology with the distribution of loyalty, focusing on accountability, transparency, and then confirmation of beneficiaries. And then we decided that with individuals who are connected with food, we can be able to track virtually every loyalty that is actually given. So you can imagine if this is actually coming as an aid to an organization. This is actually a soup mix. And with this particular soup mix, individual can be able to eat. So donors can actually use this, and then we can be able to track this on the blockchain in terms of who has received what and where you can actually receive this particular system. Okay. So we believe that it is possible, but we need to make it, break down the technology, connect it to the people. And that is what we are doing. Something that people can drink, they get connected and begin to understand the technology. Something that they can eat, they begin to connect with the technology. And even something that is connected with the women, they begin to. So by so doing, the more we have more players bringing this particular technology into the minds of the people, that it's not just all about currency, but that it's a technology that has value. I think people will embrace it and then to actually go mainstream.
Okay, Ambassador, that was quite interesting. Thank you for taking time to make sure that you drive home your points. And I saw a food there. Okay, I will come back to that one. Probably we can just create another time where we can just talk about that particular product. Now, coming to you, Charles. Interesting. Now, investing in blockchain, right, to improve aid distribution, like you're doing, can be very risky, especially without industry backing and a supportive ecosystem. Now, Ambassador actually stretched, the need for more support. Or more operators within the space. But Charles, do you think blockchain as a tool, right, is getting the support it deserves, being a revolutionary technology?
Okay, but I want to say, let's not forget that what some people are saying, blockchain as is like a regular technology that is meant to provide a solution. Despite the fact that we are more enthusiastic about the technology itself. So, what we need to look at, yes, there are issues currently regarding the use of blockchain, just like Doctor has said. When it comes to manpower, you have limited uh, skills in that regard. But when it comes to the technology itself, making use of it, it all depends on how such a country, let me use Nigeria for example, is pushing the adoption of blockchain itself. But at the same time, too, let's not forget that we have people in the remote areas or in the remote places that have problem or difficulty with identity, that's verifying the identity, since we don't have a national identity that has actually covered everybody in the country, and also they are not technologically savvy. So these are some of the aspects that we still need to consider when we talk about a distribution using technology. I'm not even talking about just the blockchain itself, because we know the unique aspect of the blockchain, which has to do with the transparency, the reliability of who is getting the aids and all that. But when it comes to the tech itself now being used for that distribution itself, we must consider every factor. Now, we shouldn't just look at just the South that have more literacy in terms of tech, or also consider those in the North that they are not they are financially excluded. So we need to also put that into consideration when we are building any solution that has to do with blockchain for aid distribution. So for the users, for those that want to go or those that are actually going into it, it all depends on the regulation being put in place. Thank God Nigeria is actually moving towards that spectrum, and it is quite easier for us to now explore all areas that has to do with blockchain itself. And one other thing also is financial regulation too. When it comes to anti-money laundering and all that,
Yeah.
there is this fear that uh, aid organization, NGOs, and all that are actually being used to fund terrorists and all those stuff.
Hmm.
So regulation also has a role to play in this aspect or in this regard. So whoever is creating an aid distribution platform using the blockchain or using the blockchain majorly, because we know the blockchain can actually create a pseudo identity for the user. So this needs to they need to look at this. They need to put this in place in order for such a platform to be successful, or for such a platform to also have that element of success in it, because you cannot really do away with regulation when it comes to some of these things.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Ambassador and Charles, we're actually approaching towards the end of the program, but there is actually a very short clip that I would want us to see, so that we can just share our comments on it before we go on this break. So now here is actually a video of the different parts in Lagos and the country at large, where warehouses with palliatives that were supposed to be distributed were kept, but I don't know what happened. But maybe you would explain what happened in this video.
This is what's happening in the environment here at Crossfield Estate, Cross River State, where the state government stocked a whole lot of palliatives that were meant for the people. You can see the environment. The people are packing different type of items, rice, indomie. You can see the environment here is rowdy. Oh, this is not funny.
Is this the government we vote for? Is this the palliative they promised they are bringing?
Okay, so Ambassador, now this is a problem, basically a problem, and you and Charles, I'll just ask you, right? How close are we to having a solution that is accepted by this government and able to solve this problem once and for all? I'll start with you, Ambassador.
Well, just like what Charles actually said, the bottom line is the technology has come to stay. It's actually disheartening when we see such kind of video. But there is something more that we need to look at, and this would go beyond the government. It needs to go deeper into us as a people. And I want us to look at the definition of what palliative is, according to World Health Organization. Then we can now begin to see that when we have the interests of people at heart, then we'll now look at ways that we can do what we can help. The World Health Organization says that palliative are approach that improve the quality of life of patients and their families facing the problem associated with life-threatening illness through the prevention and relief of suffering by means of early identification and impeccable assessment and treatment of pain and other problems, physical, psychological, and spiritual. This is the definition of a palliative. And it is all-encompassing, that this is a relief aid that is meant to help in times of distress, people who cannot be able to help themselves. Now, if we look at it from a government point of view, we discover that during the COVID-19, it was really a tough time for the country. The country and the nation was in pain, both physically, both psychologically. If we mirrored what has happened in Canada and in the US, you discover that government understand the definition of what health organization mean. And that is why we look at it that is it possible for a government to begin to pay its citizens? Is it possible for a government to create places whereby individuals can come in and then pick something to actually take care
of themselves?
So this is how it happens. So at the end of the day, it is now left, like what Charles is saying, I believe that the technology is here. It is now left for the government to open their mind to see how they can actually curb these incidences so that it does not happen, knowing that the people actually need this, and this assistance is needed at this point in time.
Thank you, Ambassador. Charles, in just few minutes as we wrap up, how close are we to having a solution that is permanent?
All right. Now we know the problem with aid distribution has actually been one that has been there for a very long time. Even there is this publication on Daily Mail that says a country so corrupt it would be better to burn our aid money, and that's talking about Nigeria. So seeing such news actually breaks one's heart, because the money is coming, but it's not getting to those that it is meant to get to. People are suffering, and that this video regarding the palliative also breaks hearts. It's there for the government to do what is right at this point. At times, if I will play the devil's advocate here, or just be in line with the government a little, sometimes these people in government or in the office, let's say the governor gives order that, okay, let this aid be distributed or let this be distributed. Now, the foot soldiers, those that are meant to carry out this distribution, they have their own game, or they have their own agenda, and they can stockpile this palliative, they don't give it out. At the end of the day, the bulk stops at the table of the governor or the president and all that. Okay. So it's left for the government to find a way to reduce the use of middlemen as much as possible. And if we look carefully, that is one of the advantages of the blockchain itself, reducing or eliminating the use of middlemen when it's sending a peer-to-peer transaction or moving something, an asset from one person to the other. So for the solution itself, like what we are working with on what you're working on chat, that is Conversity Humanitarian Aid Transfer Solution. We are working on a solution whereby when it comes to even giving out money or giving out palliative or giving out foods and all those stuff, there is accountability from the donor to the recipients, and also the vendors. And then it is also being geotagged or geofenced in such a way that you don't have such aid going from that is meant to be distributed in Lagos, going to another part of the country. And then we're putting in some measures in place so that those that are in the rural areas, like those that are in the northeast that are affected by the terrorism fight, those that are in the middle belt that are affected by herdsmen and all that, they can easily get aid even without being connected to the internet. Because if we want to focus on those that are just literate alone or tech savvy, then we'll be cutting out those that are actually or very or need this aid, and they are actually cut out from the world. So any solution that is being built needs to put these people or needs to put everybody in the society into consideration. And finally, too, the government needs to also help in terms of regulation. According to there are lots of funds lying in the banks that are meant for aid distribution, but due to the fact that there is no clear path or there is no.
Oh, okay. We just lost Charles there while he was rounding up. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on the program at this point. We are going to be going on this break, and right after, I'll be speaking to the chairman of Blockchain Association of Uganda on his nomination to the World Economic Forum Council on cryptocurrencies, and also bring you more details on the Coinbase Visa launch. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Have you heard of the first crypto comedy show in Africa? Now you've heard.
Where you get updated, educated, and entertained
on everything blockchain and fintech.
Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at Crypto TV Plus.
Do not miss Crypto Roast every Friday, showing on Crypto TV Plus.
Great opportunities are presented to us every day.